Hey everyone and welcome. Before I show you this Odysee and debunk its stupidity, I'd like to say I doubt any person of colour other than celebrities, ex-famous wazzicks, elites and media cares one jot for this stupidity.
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
And as a Mancunian that knows my history, I find it offensive and ignorant to the extreme. Now, we all know why they love this sort of stuff, and it's because of division. Keep us fighting each other while they dry shaft us from the shadows. Elites, media, celebs, all in on the act, all preaching the message, the narrative that you should be ashamed of your past, even if it isn't your past. Nope, not happening. Now, this is John Fash, an ex-England player who made a name being watched by working class families, now trying to seem relevant and claiming racism where there is and can be proved to be none. On GB News, have a listen to this.
From the start right to the finish, I've seen racism. And I know how it's used to be getting better and better. So now to bring us back again would be terrible. And we'd have to follow it through. Sounds like a threat to me, that one.
So do you think, John, that if it is found that these ships in any way represent anything to do with the slave trade, Manchester United and Manchester City have to change their badges?
I think it would be a little bit more decent if they change their banners, from boats. There's obviously a reason. There's a reason why if we're going to believe it, there's a reason why they had the boats. And if they are not really connected that way, I think it would be very distasteful if they didn't change them, because it's already out. The story's already there. And everybody, if you're a black person, and there's many, many millions of us, you're going to be very distasteful if you go to a match and you're supporting Manchester City or Manchester United. That would be not good.
Now, at this point, I'd like to state all of that's debunkable, and I'm going to do that straight after. But even if it wasn't, and it was actually a depiction of a slave ship, I'd like to say at this point, grow the hell up. It's a depiction of a ship. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is grown men crying about a tiny little emblem on a t-shirt, you fraggle. Now, the ship on both badges of those football clubs are derived from the Manchester City Council coat of arms, here it is, which is in reference to the international trade of the city, including cotton, hence the term Cottonopolis for Manchester back in the day. The ships on both teams' shields are from Manchester's coat of arms, representing international trade. Now, if you didn't know, Britain abolished the global slave trade in 1807 and slavery in the West completely in 1838, becoming the first country in history to do so. The Manchester Ship Canal, which is what that boat represents, was completed in 1887 and the first ship sailed it in 1890, 40 years after the complete abolition of slavery. Yet this fraggle just jumps to conclusions without doing any research whatsoever, because he's been told to, because it's the narrative, isn't it? Making up racism to fit the message. Now, in my opinion, to suggest the ships are linked to slavery is racist. Don't take my word for it, though. Let's take a look at Manchester specifically's anti-slavery stance. In 1863, the US President, Abraham Lincoln, wrote to the working man of Manchester, thanking them for their anti-slavery stance. Now, if you didn't know, as I said earlier, Manchester was the world centre for textiles, i.e. cotton textiles, hence the term Cottonopolis. Well, it turns out that during the American Civil War, Mancunians, working class folk, refused to work with cotton that had come from the slavery south of America. When cotton was king, Manchester's busy textile mills dressed the world. Because of this, great fortunes were made and ordinary families were fed. But in 1862, Lancashire mill workers, at great personal sacrifice, and if you're wondering what sacrifice, loss of jobs, starvation and destitution are just three of the words that have coming up multiple times, took a principled stand by refusing to touch raw cotton picked by US slaves. So we were one of the first to take a stance in the abolition of slavery around the world, including America, so much so that our sacrifice was taken up by Lincoln after he'd abolished it in America, and they sent ships of supplies to Lancashire as a way of saying thank you. So he should be, Fash knew that is, thanking us like Lincoln did, not trying to slur Mancunians as racist, for a badge of our heritage that he obviously knows very little about. In regards to John, give your hateful head a wobble, mate, wind your neck in, fade back into obscurity, and I won't mention to everyone that you're not one to talk about morals. This man disowned his brother when he came out as gay. His brother then went on to kill himself, so he's got no room to be talking about high and mighty and who's better than who. And the media are going to keep pushing this sort of division because it's easier to keep getting clicks if we're at each other's throats. And when it comes to the actual elites, it's better to divide and conquer. We're too busy fighting each other and not the ones that are actually doing the harm to the nation. But I'd like to know your opinion, everyone. I'd like to know what you think. Stay sane. I'll see you on the next one.